Hello everyone and welcome to the Gran Turismo World Series Manufacturer Cup. It's our first Manufacturer Cup race of GT7 and it is the test season. Now you can see in the background we are at the glorious Deep Forest Raceway. We are visiting nostalgia here with this first circuit, but you're probably wondering, what did I go with in terms of manufacturer? I had 4 choices. Let's have a look at those 4 choices before we jump into this very first race where we're going to try 2 different slots. So we had a choice of 4 manufacturers. So I had a choice of 4 manufacturers. If you did break that light record on the stream, you chose for me, but you didn't. So I got to pick between the 4. Now, of course, the first choice, of course, is the Audi manufacturer, and we went to look at the Audi TT and the Audi R8 LMS Evo. Now I had driven the LMS Evo at Deep Forest before and I knew it was a bit sketchy, but you know, I was like, okay, maybe it's fixed, I don't know. I love Audi. That was one of my choices. Next up then was Ford, and specifically the 2 cars available to us was the Ford Mustang and the Ford GT race car. Now specifically with the Ford manufacturer, I love a fast Ford. You know, in the UK, we love our fast Ford hatchbacks. So, you know, Ford has a soft spot with me, and that's why that was on the list. Right, the next choice then, of course, was Peugeot. So if you don't know, I won an actual trophy for Peugeot in the Gran Turismo live event. And it's a choice of the RCZ and the RCZ in terms of those cars. So the Group 3 I especially like, the Group 4, not so much. Let's put it that way. And then I had my final choice. Now, of course, you know I like Bentley, but Bentley's not here. But we do have a close resemblance to Bentley, and that's Genesis. So we have the Group 4 Genesis, but it's a Group 3 Genesis especially, which looks like the Bentley, and it looks very good, and it's a nice looking car. But in the end, we went with Audi. We signed with Audi. We're going to try out Audi in the test season for 2 reasons. 1, to test out the MR cars to see how sketchy they actually are. And 2, to test the FF cars to see if you actually want to be in an FF in the main season. It's Group 3 this time at Deep Forest. Let's jump to the races. Let's have a look exactly what happened. So here we are, just out on our warm-up. Well, I say it's our warm-up. If you notice, there's no timer at the top. So critically, I was a bit worried already. The fact that, you know, we had no timer. I was like, I'd been hearing of lobby crashes throughout the day. But even so, we were out there just practicing, you know, just getting a feel for it. Getting an idea of how the car was handling, because the car felt different. It felt more stable, and we'll get into this in just a second, but it was far more stable than it ever was in time trial. And I'd gone through and checked fuel to see if fuel was on here just to understand it, but it wasn't. You'll notice as well, we've now had that warm-up right at the top. Of course, we got the 3-second penalty, by the way, for cutting that pit lane white line. That is a very good penalty system for that white line. Really nice to see. Definitely a solid and good point made in terms of GT Sport to GT7 progression. Here we are. Warm-up has ended and we're about to get into our first qualifying session with some familiar names in there as well. Some quite fast names in there, actually. We've got Fire, Keys in there, Kylian as well, as we get ready. So qualifier on. Are we ready to go? Look at that camera angle that I got earlier on as well. The same one here as we flick between the 2. And let's get ready to go out. Oh, we've got to flick again. So, we're going to get out there, get on with qualifying very, very quickly. Also, I thought, noticing we're staying on this camera angle. Yes, we're staying here. We're staying here. We're ready to go. At this point, I was like, uh-oh. Spaghetti-o. This does not look good. And it's not. Unexpected error. Giant F. Never mind, so let's get into some time trial first. I want to show you how badly the car actually drives in time trial before I show you how well it drives in the rest of it. So, here we are in time trial. And if you notice, the car is looking fairly sketchy as we end up over the bumps there before we have to restart. Spinning to here again, I have to really balance the car. It's really, really, really tough to drive this car, to be honest, in time trial. I really did struggle. Coming out of here, 24.4 was my best. You can get 24.3, but nothing past that. You can see the car wanting to oversteer, constantly wanting to oversteer here as well. Full throttle, it just wanted to spin out. But it wasn't power oversteer. Critically, it was just the weight shifting in the car, forcing the car to oversteer. It was really bizarre. There, again, you notice it just started to lose it and it just went on me. Again, coming through here, having to be so careful on that corner. Honestly, it was so deadly, this bit of the circuit. I felt I lost loads of time here. But I also lost time in the straights, I think, as well, compared to some of the other cars. I think balance of performance is a little bit all over the place as coming into here. That was power oversteer. That was me getting a little bit greedy there. But it was a bit of weight transfer in there. But again, look at the corrections I'm having to make through that corner. I really, really, really have to be careful as I come through here. I did like 2 laps properly before I then went into qualifying for this next race. And so this is my best lap of qualifying. We just crossed the line with enough time to spare in towards turn 1. And you're going to see the difference in this car, but we got a little bit deep there. But notice not as much oversteer there in turn 1. Well, I didn't show you turn 1. Here we go. Let's go into this section here then. So I felt I could be a bit more aggressive. Notice how much more aggressive I've been. A little bit of oversteer there. Nothing major though. And I was much more aggressive into here as well, carrying a bit more speed through. There we go. 24.5 I think that was, which is not too bad here. As we come through here, again, watch how stable the car is. Suddenly, it's just like planted and far better. There's a bit of oversteer there, but not half as much as there was. In towards this left-hander then. And again, you experience a bit of oversteer there anyway, just the way you go down the hill. And in towards this left-hander where we saw a spin as well. And as we come through here, notice how stable the car is. It just sits well. It goes so, so nicely. I don't understand the difference there. So I have reported this back to PD. So if there is an issue there, it'd be good to hear from them. I don't think it's fuel related, although the car just feels more planted. I'm not too sure. As we head towards this hairpin, and I struggled on this hairpin actually in time trial because the car just wanted to constantly oversteer. And now, while we do get a tiny bit there, nothing hugely major, I know in time trial it was a bit of an issue. I had to take a wider line to survive that corner. Any tight line was just complete oversteer no matter what I did. Gonna head towards the line then. What is this looking like? I can see Keystone at 126.5. I haven't even got that in time trial, so I know that's not coming. But what are we going to get here? 127.1. That puts us in P5. Not too shabby in the only race I was able to do in this. I did no race practice either, so I was pretty pleased with that, especially with the difference between time trial and the race. So we've got this new little camera angle then. We're used to grid walks, not quite this way as we head towards P3 there in the McLaren. So McLaren looking fairly strong in terms of cars. The GTR was up there in time trial. But we started P5 in the Audi, and it appears I was one of the very, very few Audis actually on the grid. So I think a very sketchy car for everybody. But we jump to the start here, start of the race. On TV camera, a little bit of weaving there. As we'll jump on board in a second as we head towards turn 1 with that rolling start. Everyone sort of split up there. The Castrol Supra behind, the old school car there, just struggling a little bit to keep up on the straight. So coming into here, and the GTR gets it all sorts of wrong into barrier then, and up into 4th place. Just like that, nice and easy. As again, we get a little bit sketchy, nothing major. That is the fuel weight there in the rear of the car, just adding a little bit more oversteer with the weight transfer. But again, it's not as bad as time trial. Time trial, it was all over the place. It was so random. I really didn't understand it. One of the trickiest cars, I would say, I've ever driven in the time trial. I really had to think about my driving and my steering inputs especially. I had to be so careful. It was like driving the go-kart from GT Sport, actually, where you're so sensitive with the steering. You just do little tiny actions, and it can survive anything bigger, and it just spins. Now up ahead, we've got Cuba and Toxic there, fighting then for P2. I was like, okay, let's settle down here. But you might be able to get in this fight, for that P2. And let's see what happens. We've got Cuba's gone down the inside of the McLaren and in towards that. Oh, behind. The Castrol Supra goes a little bit deep there. And we're going to have a McLaren look to overtake the Supra. It doesn't quite work out. Up ahead, we've got the Subaru and McLaren also fighting together here as we head down and up this hill. I'm getting more... I'm feeling more towards this new Deep Forest as well with that last bit of the layout. It's starting to feel a bit better, a bit more like a racetrack. When I think back to nostalgia of the previous one, it was good. It wasn't quite racetrack-esque, was it? Especially that last corner in the nostalgic version. Anyway, Toxic down the inside of Cuba then. Going to keep that P2 for now as we leave that corner. We're going to advance a bit further ahead. As you can see, that McLaren starting to pull away now. Very quick on the straights, that McLaren. I struggled to keep up in the slipstream of keying qualifying early on. Very, very quick in a straight line. But perhaps this Audi's better on a more handly circuit without the undulations that we experience here. Oh, we got a little bit deep here. So copying the Castrol Supra of the first lap. Brilliant awareness from the Smentis, the Greek driver behind. Give me a bit of space there on the exit, and we pull out that very quickly, and we're actually in the slipstream of Cuba here now then. And again, we're not pulling that much of a gap towards Cuba, even though we had that massive run out the corner in terms of accelerating out with a wider line. We should be catching but it's not quite happening here. In fact, Cuba's pulling away now. That's the difference in the speed of some of these cars. In towards the braking zone. We get it wrong again with that slipstream having an impact here. The Greek driver looking down the inside. I'm going to quite work out. Going to get a bit of oversteer there. I'm going to have to fall back into line. So keeping his P4 still. Though holding the guys behind up just a tad there with some of the mistakes being in slipstream. But I've done no race practice. This is all a first for me in terms of racing here in the Manufacturer Series in GT7. So through the right-hander we go then. I'm going to continue on. Oh, Cuba getting a little bit wobbly there. Nothing major. Going to carry on in towards this left-hander then. And we're just staying in that slipstream range. I'm not fully sure of the exact distance. I think it does change on wind speeds, but we've got 0 wind speed here. You can't see that because the TV camera is there. But I think you prefer the TV camera to the circuit map. Do let me know if that is actually an incorrect assumption and you would like the TV camera elsewhere or not at all. They let me know in the comments. So, come on. We can get this podium. Cuba and Toxic up ahead. What can we do? In towards the braking zone. We're going to brake a little bit early here to make sure we don't overshoot the corner this time. And job's good. Now, if I did that line on time trial, I would automatically spin. Now, the rear got a little bit loose there. Again, that's just the weight of the fuel in the back of the car, I suspect. But even so, we've advanced further on again. We're getting closer and closer to Cuba here as we leave the tunnel. And Cuba gets too much wheel spin there into barrier R. We're going to go around the outside then in towards the left-hander. And we get that job done up into a podium position. Oh my word. I am happy with this so far. We're progressing in a very sketchy car. A little bit safer than time trial, I will admit. But, you know, it's something we haven't practiced in race pace. And we are doing fairly okay. So, into the tunnel we go. Now, Cuba just outside the slipstream, but we saw how fast that Subaru was on the straights. And look at it catch up to me now. It is flying towards the rear of my car. In towards the braking zone, then we go. We've got one more lap here as we come through this left-hander. We just need to boost it out of here as fast as we humanly can. And Cuba loses out on a little bit of traction there. Going to lose a bit of speed here as we continue down the hill and back up to the top of the hill and the start-finish straight. However, we're going to advance a lap because nothing really happens except increasing that gap. We're going to finish in P3 here. A big congratulations to Key there on the victory. Do check out Key's channel. Has Friday some awesome setups as of late and also does videos and streams as well. P3 for me, not too shabby. As I say, I've reported that big difference in driving in terms of my car. I think Trey reported similar experiences in their car, very different to the time trial and qualifying and warm-up. Remember, qualifying and warm-up doesn't have fuel. I have reported it's PD. I will let you know if I hear anything from that. But that is going to be it in terms of this race. The next Manufacturer Cup will be streamed live, so do check it out. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you've been alerted to that. Do give it a like on the way out, but that is going to be it for me now, folks. 2 videos there to check out as well if you're interested in any of those. Have a good evening, have a good day wherever you are in the world, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream very soon.